The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This week, I attended my first yoga session. My instructor has a background in movement therapy and music anthropology and is named Harmony Oliveira. She is passionate about creating a place where people come together to bond. Harmony has an 8-week residency at my gym, called Breathing with Tigers. I was told I was very lucky to get a space as availability was limited. The class will help me explore sacred grounding through evolutionary processes and dynamic and energetic vinyasa sequences. I stare into the mirror and recite Harmony's mantra, which so happens to be her Instagram bio. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Based in the southeast of France between Lyon and Marseille, the Rhone Valley extends over 200 kilometres and is divided into 2 sub-regions. North and South Rhone are well known for their red blends, but there also are some notable white wines to come out of the region too. Not too dissimilar to the Rioja video that I made, link here somewhere. Cotes Du Rhone is a region, not a grape varietal, but a region. What that means is that any grapes grown within that region constitute as a Cotes Du Rhone wine. So it's essentially like all the wineries get together and they use the power of one brand name, which is Cotes Du Rhone. The history of winemaking in this region dates back to 2,500 years, where the Greeks first arrived in Marseille and planted vines all the way through southeast France. Once the Romans arrived in 125 BCE, they continued the winemaking tradition and actually incorporated a lot more processes that are associated with modern day winemaking. However, after the fall of the Roman Empire, the barbarians ripped up all the vineyards, the bastards, only to be saved at a later date by the very much misunderstood Catholic Church, who were really into winemaking and touching children. In the mid-14th century, Pope John XXII established Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which is widely gone on to be one of the most worldwide recognised wines. Rah, 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 rah. And old Johnny Two Swans built a castle to symbolise the appellation. The Pope's Castle, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, literal translation. There are many different grape varietals, I think like over 20, that can be thrown in to a wine that constitutes as Cotes Du Rhone. Be that Hermitage or Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but the main umbrella term is Cotes Du Rhone. The main grapes are Grenache, Syrah and Montvert. And people outside of France, especially in Australia, may know that as GSM. That's a GSM blend. So if you ever go to a bottle shop or an off license and you see the words GSM, that is traditionally the Cotes Du Rhone blend. But obviously they can't call it Cotes Du Rhone outside of that region. Get me?
Arriving at the heated room whilst placing my yoga mat down, I am approached by the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. She buttoned her lips, then seductively unbuttoned them to gently explain she was reserving the space I occupied for her friend who was joining her. I smiled in agreement whilst moving my yoga mat to the other side of the room. The exaggerated distance was a sign of my compliance. I began to gradually relax my body, one part, one muscle and one thought at a time. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Understanding wines from this region are like so complicated. For one thing, the labelling laws in France in general is a fucking burning dumpster of a fucking mess. And because of that, you often hear people sort of shit on this region. For instance, I've lost count of how many times people have sort of said to me, I've never had a good glass of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Now, I did my SOM exam and I had a very, very, very good glass of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. The problem is, it's a bit like caviar, you know. Yeah, fair enough, you don't like caviar, but you know, there's a good chance that, you know, the caviar that you ate at Donna's wedding in Maidenhead was fucking shit. So across a 200 kilometre space, there's going to be lots of wineries who make things under the name of Cotes Du Rhone, which means, invariably, there's going to be a lot of shit you have to get through. That's why they have AOC laws, which we'll cover at a later date. For now, if you're looking to buy yourself a bottle of Cotes Du Rhone, which is incidentally very affordable, I've got a standard Cotes Du Rhone here. If you can see a Cotes Du Rhone villages or village, whatever you want to call it, if it just has the word villages, after Rhone, then that is going to be a higher level of Cotes Du Rhone than the sort of standard ones. So, Cotes Du Rhone villages is a higher classification of Cotes Du Rhone. However, there are 95 communes that make Cotes Du Rhone villages wine. So there's still going to be levels and levels and levels and levels and levels. So when you say, oh, I've never had a good Cotes Du Rhone, or I've never had a good Hermitage, or I've never had a good Chateau Neuf de Pape, true, maybe so. No one's denying that you know what you like and what you don't like. But there's a lot of filth out there, and the good stuff is good. I love red blends. They are wonderful table wine and really, really easy going, real crowd pleasers. If someone ever gives you shit about buying a GSM or any kind of red blend, just remind them that Rioja and Cotes Du Rhone and several other wine regions around the world are built up, and the foundations are created on red blends. Lovely ruby colour, big, thick, clear band at the top. It's nice. Bit shy on the nose. Blackberries, bit of black pepper. Yeah, so sort of fresh fruit, pretty high tannins actually. Acid, pretty short finish. It's not the best example, and again, this is very indicative of people drinking Cotes Du Rhone. You're going 9 out of 10 times, especially if you're in the New World. It's really hard to get good stuff. So do your research. I can guarantee you it's a beautiful and wonderful wine. Yeah, that's a bit of a Larry letdown, that one.
I began to gradually relax my body. One part, one muscle and one thought at a time. I found myself in a realm of total tranquility, as ancient deities were chanting me downstream in a dead language. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The voice of harmony called me back into the present. She asked the room to keep our eyes closed and slowly move into a child's pose. I was able to perform it without the need of opening my eyes. I officially did a yoga. As the heat intensified, we raised into tabletop pose. It was at that moment I opened my eyes and examined the room. I observed that there were only 3 of us present. Me. On all fours on the far side of the room. Harmony, who looked a bit fat. And the beautiful woman, who visibly lied about having a friend coming and just wanted to be as far away from me as possible. With 57 minutes left, we heel-toed backward into downward-facing dog, where in a momentary lapse of concentration, I unintentionally farted thunderously. In the evening I ate an entire bargain bucket and drank Cotes Du Rhone.